I still get comments like, "You speak English very well."
The director tells me, you need to be blacker.
We're all not like that. We don't have to have that accent. We don't have to, because I'm third generation. My Spanish is really bad.
With women from the Middle East, it's like the most offensive, the most painful stereotypes exist.
Women on the staff reportedly had to sign an agreement that they would not ever sue for, sexual harassment.
The writers were talking about their own sex lives. They were talking about the cast.
Renee Zellweger in Cold Mountain played a character that was actually a black slave in the novel, and they wanted to cast Renee, so they turned her into an Appalachian white woman.
Books that have been made into films where the character was gay, and in the film version, they're straight. And you're like, what? Why?
Before I became old, I was cast as newscasters, as nurses, as attorneys. But recently, and I don't know why this is, they're bringing me in to speak with accents, to be like Cambodian maids or Korean madams. And I don't know why all of a sudden I'm not playing Americans anymore.
This is the Chronicle, April 23rd, 2008, and they're talking about this new film. Sony Pictures is putting out a new film called 21, and it's based on an MIT professor teaching his students to beat the odds in Las Vegas casinos. And they have this actor who I've never heard of. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy. I'm not trying to slam him. Jim Sturgis is the star student, Ben Campbell. The real life Campbell was an Asian American named Jeff Ma. What is the argument for having a real story about an Asian student suddenly played by a white guy when it's time to make the movie?
It was based on a best-selling book, Bringing Down the House, a true story where an MIT professor teaches a group of students how to win at blackjack at Vegas, this counting card system. And in reality, the MIT professor was Asian American, and most of the people on his team were Asian American. And the lead guy on that college team who won the most money was a Chinese American named Jeff Ma. And I guess he had a girlfriend who was white, who was played by Kate Bosworth in the movie. But in the movie, the professor is played by Kevin Spacey. The lead guy who wins all the money is played by a white British guy, Jim Sturgis, who had to have a dialect coach on the set to tell him how to speak like an American. I mean, talk about having to really go out of your way to have a white guy play an Asian American. I mean, to play an American. Just get an Asian American guy to play it.
This is not, the Jeff Ma documentary. It isn't. I mean, as exciting as my life has been, there's probably about 7 people that would have wanted to see the Jeff Ma documentary, probably everyone in my family, and that's it. So this is a mainstream movie. It's a movie that's supposed to just reach a lot of audiences, and that's just supposed to be, fun. And to that end, I think it was important for them to find the best actor, sort of regardless of race, regardless of height, regardless of anything like that, just to find the best actor.
I've talked to people who work in casting, and they will say, we can't find any talented Asian actors, or we can't find any Asian actors that have the training they need to play lead roles. But there's a circularity of the reasoning because the studios haven't created roles for Asian Americans, right? In fact, when there's an opportunity, as in 21, to cast Asian Americans in significant roles, they've refused to do that, and they've turned those characters into white characters. So, you don't cultivate the opportunity for people to become the next Kevin Spacey, say the Asian Kevin Spacey, because you're changing the Asian roles to white roles.
I understand. I understand why. And it was really all about money. When it comes right down to it, it was all about money. Who was more bankable? This kid who's an up and coming actor, who's a very good actor himself. I can't remember his name, but he was in the Beatles movie. Very tall, very handsome, very good looking kid. A good actor. And I understood that the producers like, look, we can't find an Asian actor to play that part, and I just said bullshit. they're like I can you know I can see like 3 or 4 of them that could be perfect. I mean, that kid John Cho, he'd been perfect. Why not? Why couldn't he? You know, it's like he could do it. You know, no, he's not bankable. Come on, you know, tell me the real story.
You know, Jim Sturgis's biggest claim to fame before 21 was being in Across the Universe. And despite the fact that the movie got a lot of attention, it was a flop. It didn't make a lot of money. It went to maybe number 8 or number 7 on the weekly ratings. You can put a more well-known actor who's Asian American in his place, and the movie wouldn't have done any worse. You know, you could have put John Cho. People would know John Cho more than they know Jim Sturgis. You could put John Cho. You could have put a lot of other people in there. Because I think what the movie proved was that it wasn't so much the stars that made the movie successful. It was a concept. You know, they like the concept about the blackjack thing and beating Vegas at blackjack. So the fact that they didn't have any big stars in the movie and it still did well proved that you don't have to have big stars in a lot of movies to do well. So why not put Asian Americans in some of these things, especially when the project is based on a real life story that involved Asian Americans.
I don't like the idea of saying, you know, like in Memoirs of a Geisha, where they cast, you know, a Chinese person to play the geisha. You know, it's like, I don't like the idea that, oh, any Asian will work kind of thing. And so that part of it would have bothered me if it was like, oh, well, we can't find a good Chinese actor, so this, you know, John Cho will work kind of thing.
If I were the casting director in it, and if I had to say so, I would have insisted that the character be Asian, as the real person was Asian. You know, what's wrong with that? If it's a good story, if it's a good movie, it's going to sell no matter who's in it.
People say, well, race didn't really matter. And they said, well, no, race did matter, because the writer of the book said the reason why this team could do so well at blackjack was because most of the team was Asian, and it didn't stand out that an Asian American person would win a lot at blackjack. Whereas if a white person won, the people watching the security cameras would go, something's wrong here. Something's sticking out like a sore thumb. So the fact that they were Asian American was germane to the story. And they lost a lot of interesting things going on because they're Asian American by going mostly white.
It wasn't about, we can't find any Asian talent or talented Asian actors or actresses out there. It was really about minimizing their risk of getting the money returned, their investment returned with a certain rate that they expected. And to minimize that risk would mean that you have to cast people, or to them anyway, to the casting, to the production companies and the movie heads, to them, in order to minimize the risk of loss and increase the risk of return on their investment, would be to cast people who they think are box office hits, are box office stars that are guaranteed people are going to go see. It didn't matter. They would sacrifice the actual background, the actual, the inspiration of the actual people that started it for money.
I think it was the people who had the money who decided, well, look, we can't give it a green light if we don't have that actor in place. We want to use this guy instead. We'll give the green light if we use this guy. And I guess the producer says, okay, we'll do it. We'll tell a lie. Well, this is just a facsimile of the real story. And that's what you have to take it for. And their justification was, well, we did have a couple of Asian co-stars in it. Yeah. So I'd rather have the lead guy being Asian and the two people helping out being white. That would be fine, but in that case, no.
If they had found an actor that I didn't like who was Caucasian, then it would be so easy for me to say anything about it. But when I watched Jim on screen, there were moments that I could see myself in what he was doing and what he was saying. And I don't know if having him be Asian American or Chinese or whatever would necessarily have helped me feel more that way.
I know what this dress name is. Sleeping Beauty. Oh. And mine's is Snow White.